welcome and thank you for joining our Music for Global Change broadcast with founder and music ambassador Skyler Jett and presenter Tom Bryant and Ryan Shewchuk. And our special guest today is Frank Martin.
Right, well, welcome to the show, Frank Martin. You are a keyboardist, arranger and producer, composer. You also teach. You're a Bay Area native. You have a diverse career and have been performing for the last 17 years as a member of Sting's Rainforest Band, performing annually at the Carnegie Hall, along with James Taylor, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, and many others. There's loads more to talk with you about, so welcome to the show, and please tell us more.
Well, how do I top that?
Well,
when I look back, I go, wow, actually, I haven't done a few things. That's like,
absolutely.
So I feel blessed, all that stuff is just, you want to say being at the right place at the right time, all that stuff, but, you got to be prepared and all that. But I've just been really blessed, it all, for me, it kind of kicked in when I joined John Handy's band, if you remember him, but he had a big hit long ago called Hard Work. And he was a saxophone player that played, with Coltrane and everybody. He'd tell me stories of having lunch with John and his mom, that kind of stuff. I was like, damn. Anyway, Narda came to a show and snatched me up from that. Said, you and me, we got to do it. So
brilliant.
The rest is history as far as Narda and I go. That just led to a gazillion recordings, which was fantastic. And, Skyler and I did a ton of them together.
Yeah.
And, but I feel blessed that all just transpired. The fact that he moved to the Bay Area, where I am, and asked around who should I call. And so he came to see me and we got together and played. And that was a very cool thing that just has manifested into so many things. My connection to Sting, that's actually went on for 23 years, which is fantastic, and I think that's over. Sting said this will probably be our last show. It was his 30th year of a commitment to the Rainforest Foundation.
Yeah.
Narda and I joined in on his 7th year of a 10-year commitment, and he just couldn't stop. He just kept going. And so that just led to so much fun, just, playing with the who's who of the biz, it's just amazing. So I feel very blessed. Again, that came from Sting coming to see me play with Narda at a show in Los Angeles for Music in the Schools. VH1 is what it was called, VH1.
Okay.
Music in the Schools.
Okay.
And we ended up backing up Stevie Wonder and Shaka Khan, James Taylor, yada, yada, everybody. And Sting said, you guys have to come to New York in 2 weeks and do this again. So that's what started it all.
Wow.
Pack your bags.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Pack your bags. I never got a chance to unpack.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, we're going again. So that was very cool.
Right on. Right. You got a question?
Yeah. I guess segue into that question, regarding being discovered, I guess, by various artists. I'm always interested in the dynamic between, the musicians syncing up with artists syncing up with musicians. I mean, you said Sting just came to one of your shows. I mean, the list of people that you've worked with was pretty extensive, but I was like, oh, wow, Lady Gaga, Madonna, like for those type of people, for example, like how do you just get connected to start working on their projects or going on tour with them? What's a typical type of connection?
Well, those particular ones were just sporadic shows, with Sting and et cetera.
Okay.
But when I would get calls, usually it starts from recording with people, so if I happen to be on a recording session playing with, for example, Angela Bofield, one of my heroes, I loved her first 2 records, and she came in and we recorded, I don't know, maybe 5 records with her. But after the first or second record, I think after the first record we did with her, we just hit it off. And so she asked me, do you by chance do big band arranging and conducting? And I'm going, of course, who doesn't do that? Of course I had never done that, So I said, absolutely, because
immediately.
Automatically say yes. Yeah.
Never say no. It's always absolutely,
Yeah.
Trapeze artist, of course I am, So she said, I have some shows opening for Bill Cosby in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. And would you be my MD and do my arranging and conducting? And I said, yeah, that sounds like fun. And so that's how that kind of started, just by getting to know her a little bit on a recording session. And we just hit it off. and that led to many years of 25 years of me in and out of town with her. And to me, it starts with the friendship. There are gigs that come. I just got a call to play with Kenny G from a friend of mine, Philip Wu. That's a great keyboard player who lives in Japan. And he says, I can't do it. Can you cover for me? It starts in 2 days or whatever. And I said,
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the relationships that you build with other artists or other people in the industry. It feels like you're always looking out for each other if you can't do a project or something like that. So a lot of referrals, it seems like.
Yeah, it's no longer about ego. It may be the beginning when you're so insecure, and then it becomes a family, and then I've turned so many gigs onto friends and vice versa. And so it's all, to me, it's one big, large family,
That's cool.
Skyler and I are like brothers, and yet we haven't seen each other for a long time, but there's still this strong connection.
Yeah.
The bond. Yeah.
And I feel that with thousands of people. It's just amazing, And so I think it starts there with this friendship, getting to know someone, and you hit it off. Like Narda and I, we hit it off the first time we played together. There was just something there, we just, I walk in the room, he had this tiny little studio where he was teaching drum students, trying to make his $25 an hour to survive.
Yeah.
After we moved here. And, he opens the door and it's, all this incense comes pouring out of the room in his eyes. Just meditating, and I'm going, okay, where's the bus? But we started to play, and there was just something. The first thing he said to me was, wow, I feel like I've known you for a long time. Just the first thing he says, like, wow.
Yeah.
So there was just something, a spark that happens between people. I think that's the same in anything. If you're an architect, a plumber, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Relationships,
camaraderie.
a camaraderie. There's just something that connects people, and there are times when that doesn't connect.
Right. That's right.
Doesn't feel right, and so I kind of move on to something else and say thank you, but got to go. And they felt that with me. It's just a personal thing,
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom, you got a question?
Yeah, also looking at the details you sent through, you've also had, you served 6 years as the governor of the San Francisco chapter of the National Academy of Recording Artists. So first of all, what is that? Briefly, what does that entail? How did you get the gig for that? And what were you able to achieve whilst in that tenure of 6 years?
Well, that's an organization that has to do with the Grammys. And so it's the voting part of the Grammy organization. So we are the ones that, organize that. And the local chapter of San Francisco that I belong to, you have to get voted in. So they have elections. And so I was elected every 2 years. So I did 6 years in a row. And then I had my fill, which is great. But you're involved at that time, the local chapter, we would put on local concerts and invite, special guests for that, give awards, local people that got Grammys, we would honor them, have them perform. So it's about that. And so, but that was how I got it. Just, I heard about it. Somebody said, hey, you should be, run for governor. I said, okay. So I put my name in the pot. Boom, got one.
Nice.
And it wasn't just me. I think there's about 10 of us. Narda was a governor while I was a governor. Andre Pessis, I don't know if you know him. He's a great songwriter. And he was at that time at least for 4 of those years, the chapter president, and there was somebody else was the next one, but that's all the local people. Orrin Nephews, I don't know if you know who he is, but he was the famous producer for Bill Evans and all these famous jazz artists, and so he was on the board, and so it was a great coming together of the Bay Area scene. Even though there are a bunch of chapters, I don't know, like 17 or something throughout the country.
Yeah,
and but ours was strong, and it's still going. So
and Larry Baptiste
is still way involved in that.
Yeah,
I think he goes to LA for the big conventions and the next level up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Frank, would you know who was going to win a Grammy before everybody else? I mean, that sounds like some tasty information.
I can't talk about it, but
That's it.
The payola thing. No, I know nothing.
Okay.
No, we definitely didn't know. I would definitely volunteer to be on another committee that would listen to CDs. We would get gobs and gobs of CDs and listen all day long for one specific thing having to do with Grammys. Might be arranging, for example. And so listen to all the CDs that were submitted. They were already narrowed down to like 30 per category, something like that. And then we had to see each one in those categories and then vote how we would, how we feel about the music. And then each chapter would do that. And so then that all would be tallied up, and then that would narrow down to the very final voting thing for all the members. But we would narrow it down to the best of the best that we felt. Otherwise, it would be too crazy to just have hundreds and hundreds of people to vote for.
Yeah,
for sure.
But we didn't know. I mean, there's no way to know. And I'm assuming it's all up and up, but I say no more.
Yeah,
I'd be going to TMZ. I'd be like, Beyonce might win again. You never know.
That's it.
Yeah. You still live in Oakland?
I do. I still live in Oakland. I live in this compound, which is very cool. It's like a park. It's not far from the hood. So you walk through this gate and all of a sudden it's like, damn, look at this. I've got redwood trees on both sides of my place.
Wow.
It's just so awesome. It's like so peaceful back in here, and people don't even know I exist. So I love it. I play music around the clock. I've got a grand piano in this room, one in that room, and I just go back and forth and, can't stop playing, So I feel really blessed where I am. It's just awesome. And I'm close enough to everything in the Bay Area, which is awesome. And there's so much going on. There's every kind of music. Now that COVID, even though it's still here, the dangerous one is kind of dissipated. So people are back. I'm playing, 5 shows a week with different people. It's
That's brilliant.
just on nonstop. Yesterday I played a park concert with Vernon Black, who I know you know. And the great bass player Myron Dove and Billy Johnson, both from Santana, and yada yada, all these great people. And so, anyway, so there's that kind of stuff that's just happening all the time. People are so hungry, and you don't do anything wrong. Just go, woo! No matter what you do, they love it. It's incredible.
Man, that's the cool thing. Being in the studio is wonderful. But it's nothing like being in front of music lovers.
That's what we really are in this business for. It's that contact, to give and receive and all
feedback.
that. It's the best, Well, like I know you do this. The sessions are great. It's really fun, and that's the bread and butter. Which is great. Appreciate that. But given the choice, get me out there.
That's right.
Little tiny little. 10 people in a room, great. 1,000 people, 100,000, I don't care what it is. It's all identical. There's just that energy you can't get in the studio.
No.
I mean, the studio's great. I love it. Can't wait to record again, but
that's the business. Yeah.
The mix.
I met you through Billy Johnson.
Yeah, tell me about the first time we met. I'm trying to remember.
What was that club you used to play?
Kanzaki Lounge.
In Japantown.
10 years. I was there.
Man, that was the best.
Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
For a long time, Vicki Randall was the first singer we had. I'm sure you guys, of course, well. And, she was the first woman on the Tonight Show band and ended up doing that for 15, 17 years, something like that.
Jay Leno. Yeah.
Jay Leno, yeah. And then she toured with everybody. But anyway, she was in the band. And Tony Lindsay was in it for like 2 or 3 years from Santana also. And I mean, it was a hub where you'd look out in the crowd and there's Tony Williams hanging out.
Right.
There's Diane Reeves would come in and sing with us, and the list goes and goes. And it was so fun. We didn't make a penny, and we got like $50 each to go do this thing. And we would give our money to the street people to carry our equipment upstairs. And, it was never about any money. It was just this camaraderie of friendships that, wow. So many great people are in that band. I can't even listen.
Yeah, but you know how to pick them. I mean, the talent was off the chain, every week, are you going to have a great time? And it was just amazing. Now, as you know, we're music for global change. So it's something I started about 20 years ago, but it's a social conscious lyrical content, right? Yes. And so we've been having just amazing people on. It's like you said that you you really didn't know how to arrange when Angela Bofield. Same thing. We had Ronald LaPred on, the bass player of the Commodores.
Yes.
And he told us the same thing. You know, they were looking for a bass player. They say, "You play bass?" He said, "Yeah." And he said, "I've never played bass in my life."
Ooh,
That's funny.
that's really a stretch. I love that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's time to go learn tonight.
Do you fly a plane? Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, when I replaced Lionel back in 1982, and I started living with Ronald in Alabama for a couple of years when I was touring with him.
Yeah.
But he cracked me up because he would tell me stories about what happened. He said when we wrote Three Times a Lady, right? Berry Gordy flew them out from Alabama. They bought every one of them brand new Mercedes Benz.
Oh, okay.
Because he knew because he knew it was going to be a hit, right?
Wow.
And then Ronald told me a story about when they was in the studio and they was doing the album, their first album from Motown, and they, you know, I knew the studio down in Alabama because I was working there. But he said we took all these tunes down there, and you know we've been working on these tunes, and every time we finish one, oh, that's the hit, that's gonna be the shit, that's gonna be it, right? And he said Barry walked in and said, "Hey man, we need one more song.
Wow.
We don't have enough." And Ronald kicked off that bass line to Brick House.
Oh, wow. Just out of nowhere.
Just out of nowhere. He said, "You got some," and he started playing. And next thing you know, that turned out to be bigger than all them songs they stayed home to arrange and everything else. You know, you never know.
You just don't know. You just put it out there. What was that hit Bobby McFerrin had? Be Happy?
Yeah, Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Don't Worry, Be Happy. When I remember when he was recording that record at the Automat, and they same thing. They needed another tune, and he threw this little thing out, and he says, "Nah, that's so silly. No one's gonna like that. We can't put that on the record." And they said, "Well, let's just put it on there, you know." And that's his life. That little thing, you know.
And he hates to do it.
That's the scary part. You got to be careful what you're hearing.
Because my buddy Joey was his bass singer for all those years.
Yeah.
And people ask him, he hates to do it, man. And that tune, because it was so funny and it was so fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun, man. Tom, you got another question?
Well, yeah, I mean, just following on really from who you've worked with, is there anyone you haven't worked with yet that you really think, you know, you would love to work with? Is there anybody that you've not yet had the chance to work with at all?
Well, she passed. That was one of the ones I really wanted to work with, Aretha Franklin.
Oh, okay.
I was on the road with Angela Bofield or Patty Austin. I think it was Angela Bofield when Narda did that record, and I so wanted to work with her. So that would have been somebody I would have loved to have worked with. I think my priorities have changed now as far as who I would want to work with. You know, for me, it was always Stevie Wonder. Then I got to work with him. Then in the jazz world, I always wanted to play with Herbie Hancock. Well, I got to do that. And so I always wanted to play with Chick Corea. And just to not to have dueling, because, you know, he was a god to me, but just to play with somebody like that. So my priorities have changed in that I would love to play with some other pianists. Again, Sala Rubalcaba is one of my heroes, and we're Facebook friends and chat a little bit now and then. And he's just amazing musician. That's be somebody I would love to play with just to experience that. So I'm part of that, you know, but who else, you know, to work again with Stevie Wonder, to me, that would be,
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody that is like, I'm just can't wait to go play with some new person or whatever. I'm open to whatever. There's something magical that happens with everybody you play with.
Yeah.
So many times it's the not knowing anyone or who the artist is or whatever, and walking on stage, I thrive on that. And so my next gig, I can't wait for it, I guess would be the way to put it. I can't just wait to see who's going to be on the gig. What are we going to do? And the joy of creating something from nothing or playing something we all know. That is, I think I live for that more than I can't wait to work with somebody, some star.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I got to sing with Aretha. I sang on that duet with her and Elton John.
Through
the Storm, right?
Wow.
And then I'll never forget, because when I was 19, I moved to New Jersey, and I started playing for a band there. But Chick Corea kept his piano at the place where I lived at, and he would come every year for 2 weeks and play. And so when I started playing with Sly and the Family Stone, we was in Europe, and I saw him coming out of the hotel going over to play, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he remembered me, man.
Yeah, he was that kind of a guy.
You know,
I love that.
And I met Joe Zawinul just 2 weeks before he passed.
Yeah.
In Paris, right? And I mean, just so many. A lot of them are gone, man. It's like amazing now.
For piano players, all the greats. I mean, the famous ones, like, the only one left for me is Herbie. I got to play with Joe Zawinul on Narda's tour in Japan, and so he would come up on the last tune and join us and jam. Greg Fillinganes and I were the two keyboard players, and then Joe would jump up and play with us, which was heaven. For 2 weeks, we hung out in Japan, and I think I pestered the poor guy so much, the whole tour I would not leave him alone. He was just one of my idols. The other one I would have loved to have worked with, and was that close, was George Duke. He's another one of my all-time heroes, and I was set to do a gig with him, and at the last second, the ticket sales were low, whatever, something happened. And the promoter said, you got to scale back the band. It's too big. We need to,
wow.
So at the last second, I got bumped. The background singers got bumped, and somebody else got bumped. I forget. And so Narda did it with the great Troy Lampkins and a guitar player. And so they just did a quartet thing. But so he said, have Frank call me. So I called them up and said, man, I'm sorry. Life is long, he said. So we'll give time, and then he passed, he passed. Life is long. Take advantage of the moment,
Yeah. Ryan, you got another question?
Yeah, Frank, you talked about the Bay Area opening back up after, COVID and things like that. I know that you are a teacher at, was it UC Berkeley and the California Jazz Conservatory.
Yep.
How did the pandemic affect classes like that? Were you able to teach online, or do you teach online, and is that a possibility?
I was. You had to morph. We all had to quickly learn Zoom. It was just a brand new thing, and it was just, we were all, treading water until we could figure it out. But fortunately, because of the schools, they would have somebody there that would talk us through it and say, do this, 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 and this, and this. And I had friends that were techies that helped me do my setup and yada yada. So I had to morph, because a couple of my UC things were ensembles. Well, you can't play on Zoom effectively. So I morphed it into composition classes. So I said, all right, how many of you are writers? And they said, no one raised their hand or one. And I said, okay, from now on, we're all composers. So every week we're going to compose. We're going to record our parts individually and share them, send files back and forth. So then we could compile their songs. They could listen to them. And so I morphed my performance thing into a recording class, basically. So other classes like piano classes or improv classes, I could do all of those online, no problem. So I actually got busier during the pandemic than I was prior because of all the teaching. Perform. And so I was teaching nonstop. I had all these private students that wanted lessons, and
they're like, I'm not working. I might as well. Go after my passion.
I was just kind of overwhelmed with too much teaching, but I feel I was grateful because I had friends that were not doing so well. So I feel blessed that I was not affected at all. The only thing I did was stay home and have my coffee and chill and wear slippers, So it was it worked for me. I missed the performing, but I didn't miss the traveling. It was all of a sudden, this is kind of cool. Sitting at home and, different, but I loved it. So I did morph into teaching. And so as a result of that, I can now teach online, which I couldn't do before. So I do.
So that's something that you continued on. Like that would be my follow-up question is like, do you feel like the online or the Zoom type of aspect, do you think that more artists or performers will take advantage of that moving forward, since
absolutely had to? People that normally wouldn't take classes or whatever, seek out lessons, thought, this is probably a good time to
Right.
try something new, so could I study some composition with you? And I said, yeah, of course, so different things came out of that, and I love teaching. I go crazy if that's all I do, but I love teaching and sharing stuff. And because as a teacher, you learn way more than you teach.
Wow.
It's amazing because you offer something and the questions come back and you go,
Right. You have to pivot.
You got to figure this stuff out. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I'm growing more than when they are, so I feel blessed when I have new students and things, and even some young ones. I have some young students that are whiz kids that are 8, 9 years old that are like, you can see they've got it. And so to nurture that is so fun. I just love it. And to see the sparks go off in them and their eyes get big, so I truly love teaching. The online thing is not as great as the personal thing where they're sitting right here, but you learn to adapt and it all works. So I love it.
Cool. Very cool.
Tom, you got another question?
I have, yeah. I'm just off the back of what you mentioned earlier about when you had a couple of days' notice and you jumped in and saved somebody on tour when they said, can you step in and help me out because I can't do this tour. Is that something you're able to do? Just kind of a last minute thing within 2 days, just sort of, I know what sort of things are going to be played by this artist, or how does that work based on, you just have to know the tracks the artist is going to play, or do you have to have a longer prep period for them? How does that work?
Yeah.
It would be lovely if the industry worked that way, where in 6 months you hit the road and you got all this time to work on the stuff. The reality of the biz is that kind of stuff where it's like, what are you doing tomorrow? And you pick and choose, and so Skyler and I and our friends, we've all learned to adapt very quickly, and you just do it. It's so easy to say, I don't have time. I can't do it. But it's just as easy to say, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'm one of the hardest gigs I remember I had to do was with this guy, Richard Bona. He's a great singer, bass player.
My God, bass player too.
Yeah, he's just heaven. He's just one of my idols. And I big fan, had all the CDs, and I'm sitting at home and I get a call and, hey, Frank, this is Richard Bona. I want you to play with my band. I'm going, yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Richard. Who is this? No, it's really, yeah. Come on, stop messing with me. That old story. Until he finally convinced me, this is Richard Bona. We're playing Yoshi's now. And I went, oh yeah, you are playing Yoshi's. So I said, okay. So what do you got? And he says, well, my keyboard player, lost his visa or didn't renew his visa. It's great. Amazing keyboard player. But he forgot to renew his 26-year-old, big mistake. So he says, I'm stuck. Can you help me out? A few people recommended, you're the guy I should call. I said, sure. Now my assumption is these guys are the pros. They'll have music all ready to go. I can get together and, we'll rehearse. It's going to be great. Wow. No music, of course, at all, the usual. And it's not like, Freeway of Love kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to his music, And so he says, come down tonight and hear us. I think it was a Friday night. He says, come down and hear the band. So I went down to Yoshi's and listened, and I'm going, oh my God, this keyboard player is playing 2 keyboards on either side, 2 parts minimum per song, just like this octopus. I'm going, oh my goodness, I have to learn all this stuff. When is the gig again? Monday? And so we had, he says, okay, great. Come back tomorrow. Let's play and see what it feels like. Because they didn't know me. And so I came down, we jammed and worked out great. And I said, okay, great. We're flying in the morning to, Seattle to go play the Jab Blues. What was that place called in Seattle? I forget, club there. And Blues Alley.
Blues Alley, right?
Jazz Alley. I think Blues Alley is Chicago.
Yeah.
Jazz Alley. Anyway, so I'm up literally all night listening to the music. They gave me a live recording, and then I checked out their stuff, and I'm up all night, and I'm writing out as fast as I can every song because I can't remember all these songs and all these parts that are very specific. So that was one of the hardest gigs. I remember that, and then we show up and okay, we're going to rehearse at 10 a.m. Well, we're all staying in this big house complex thing. So I come down, show up, and they're all like at attention at 10 a.m. exactly. I'm going, whoa, check this out. And so fortunately I was there at 10 a.m. and not 10 30 seconds late, you know.
Right.
He's like a woo. He holds his band and whips them into shape.
Yeah.
And so we rehearsed and I got through it. We did the gig. It was just the best ever. I had so much fun. But that's it would have been so easy for me to say, how can I do that? No music, the gig is in a couple days. No way.
Yeah.
Or I can work with one of my idols. I'll just make it work. I do what I can, you know, and they were forgiving. There were a few moments when I was kind of swimming around. I found my way. And the band smiled. It was all great.
Yeah.
And Richard was very, yes, thank you so much. You saved my butt. And we did 2 nights and that was gone. But I think we live for that stuff.
That's right.
You know, if Aretha calls you at 6 a.m. and says, we have a gig at 8, what are you going to say? Yes.
Yeah. Put my shoes on right now.
Do it.
Hey.
Listening cap on, and you go do as best as you can. And then as it goes, if it's a tour, you just, you know, you learn everything and everything is bliss with that. But there's something really exciting about that. I think my life is really like that. You know, I get a call and it's like, hey, what can you play with us tonight? Sure. What are you going to play? Well, we're not sure. Oh, okay. Well, here's these 30 songs we're going to do. I said, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
And live for that stuff.
Cool.
That's the difference between a professional and a professional.
Exactly. Professional. Yes.
In a professional. Now, we're going to ask you for your endorsement to Music for Global Change.
Yes.
And thank you, man, because I'm out here trying to teach young people how to write social conscious lyrical content. Lyrics that's not about yourself. It's about how we can help each other and heal each other. You know what I mean? And it's really wonderful because I was doing some of it with Patty Austin for a while.
I have a gig with Patty in February, I think on Valentine's Day. Maybe you should come for that. Come and sing with us.
Were you performing?
I have not a clue. I forgot where they said. I think it's.
You won't know 2 days before.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't need to know straight away, do you? Come on.
Yeah.
That's
Too far in
crazy.
advance, Frank.
We work together because she sings with these Chinese superstars. Francis Yip was the band.
We did that. We did a gig with Lulu.
Yes, same woman called me. Same thing.
Yeah. I just talked to her not long ago. It's been a long time, but listen, I cannot thank you enough, brother. Thanks for taking your time, the privilege of your time for coming on, man. It's really, really cool, man. And let me know when you're coming over here too.
Yeah,
you know,
I was going every year to play like Ronnie Scott's, you know, with the Neto band, the Brazilian band. We did.
Yeah.
15, 16 years in a row there. It was awesome.
Wow, man. Well, you need to bring your band over here, you know?
Well, I would love to. We just started to play again. So it was just on my birthday. So it was just, it was awesome.
Yeah, I know a guy that books the
Pizza Express.
Yeah, I know a guy that books that place.
That's a little easier venue to get into than Ronnie Scott's because they really like to have name stuff. You know? We were connected because Jose Neto, the leader of the band, played with Flor and Airto for a month. Every January, they would play every year for a full month. And so they asked him, hey, you should come. And he brought us over. And then we just kept going and going and going and going. I love that. I love that place. But the piece of
man, I want to try to get you. I want to try to get you over here, man. You know what I mean?
I would love that.
I love you, man. Say hello to everybody for me.
I will. Brother. Thank you for the inclusion. I love it. Great to meet you guys.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks for meeting us.
Thanks,
Have a great week.
Much love,
Frank.
brother.
Much love to you as well.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.